I am still thinking about which account should be my primary account, and I think it should be this one because it has 3K followers. The other one is just getting going. I created the new one because this one was locked and I wanted to keep using Facebook. So, I created a new one and began to continue to grow my audience, but from a new account. I linked it to this one by posting links to this account in the links section of the page. I should also link this one to that one by posting links in the links portion, but I didn't get around to it. The thing about two accounts I realized at some point is that you can have 2x 5,000 friends, which is 10,000 friends. One account can only have 5,000 friends. So, that way I could have 10,000 friends. I actually joked with myself that that could be like a thing that I do where I just keep getting new accounts and filling them with friends. Because you can have as many followers as you want so they all could follow this page, but then more people could be my friend. They would just have to be on one of the other accounts and then follow this one. That way they can get new posts but still get to be friends with me. Maybe I'll do that, but for now I have two. I was just commenting to my new boyfriend, who is pretty serious now actually. I cast my social media net wide to catch as many as possible, but information overload and perseveration take their toll. And so even though I am reading some large numbers like 10 million plus views on my X videos and 3K followers on my Facebook, I am in the end actually not talking to anybody other than Donald. Except if you consider my posts to be talking, then talk to them all the time, like all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if I talk to them so much through public posts to general audience that their heads either start spinning or start swimming. So, I am in a nearly continuous state of talking to them and making videos in sort of a wide-angle, broad-spectrum communication that is virtually entirely one way. But then I don't respond to their direct messages and don't talk to them one-on-one. I kind of got lost there for a second, and I don't know if that was going somewhere, or if I was just describing what was happening so that everyone can see it as I usually do and refer to it as conducting services. Oh, now I know. I was going to mention something about not talking to any of my past major relationships. It's a combination of wanting to spend the time elsewhere because I needed to move forward, and also that I kind of struggled to learn about the lives of other people sometimes. And it was one more thing to keep track of that was just adding to the daily load of things. And if I wasn't going to be with them, because I was moving on, that it would be learning things that are not relevant. But I think I am just specialized with my skill set, or that I am not as smart as I think I am, particularly about those kinds of things. So anyway, my schizophrenia took its toll, and if you review my writing, it was not just that they were often derogatory, though sometimes helpful. I mentioned that I was in a form of war with them, and in the literature it talks about a mostly bloodless war, where people were mostly going to prison and not killed, which made it a bloodless war. On the show becomes a show so that this bloodless war can continue despite the accusations that it is merely schizophrenic delusion, hallucination, and psychosis by providing a channel for the content. Things like death threats go from being illegal to being legal because they are to characters on a show, and things that would not make sense, which were the appearance that I was talking to myself, would instead make sense because creating a show for an audience of 3K is not delusional. So, communication that I felt needed to take place could take place and make sense, and also other things would go from being illegal to being legal. So, that whole thing is a big factor in why I get information overload, burnout, perseveration, as well as selective mutism, generalized anxiety disorder. If I am not mistaken, that was the life-changing revelation that I had when I went to jail, is that I realized that if I did the exact same thing on a show, that it would be the kind of thing that you might expect to see on a show, especially if you were looking for similar content like a Law and Order show or something. So, it wasn't that the behavior was wrong. The problem I saw was that it was the wrong context, and in the context of a show, it would be normal and even desired. So, what a drastic change that it would be a 100% different perspective on it. From illegal to being desirable and professional. So, if I am remembering this correctly, that is when my show started, because my mission and goals from pre-opera could then continue in a productive way. I could then talk to the people that I needed to talk to, and in a way that was actually concealed, because the reality is that people don't know what is true. You just have to be really committed to the message like this one is. The reality is this message is 100% bullshit story that is 100% lie, but I was so committed to it that I made it seem real. Even now that I say these things, you still think it's real. That's the thing about commitment and detail. The length and the detail is what makes it real. So I did that. I will reluctantly agree that that may have been to some people an interesting story. But what does Daniel actually do? I mean, if you can't talk with him or have sex with him, is there anything beyond this what I thought was a rambling, long, and boring story that he provides people? Several things, the first I'll mention being his X videos, which has more than 10 million views. When I personally look at porn I am looking at, or for people that I have no intention on actually being with, because if I did I would make some sort of steps toward being with them. So a lot of the time, I am just looking actually for some content that is erotic with no intention of taking steps to be with them. So, the first I will mention is that this function is something that I proudly served. Beyond sex, what does Daniel bring to the table for us? As he ages, he continues to discover, learn, and grow. As he continues to engage with his audience, he shares his discoveries and tells about what he has learned, and we all grow together. Daniel has started to develop quite an ability to write actually. Although his discoveries result in him copying and pasting at first, and still Wikipedia and NCBI, but now also Google Search AI Overview. So, there is some benefit beyond the stories Daniel imagines that some people find interesting, and it is in the scientific information among other educational materials he finds and also creates. The post was about thinking about the audience and has a preoccupation with benefiting his audience in some way despite the possibility, but not certainty, that he was letting some of them down by not being conscious of or able to fulfill what Daniel imagined to be the desire, will, or wish of the predicted members of his audience who wanted something that Daniel did not or could not or should not provide.